Behind this image lies a truth that almost no one talks about.
Welcome to Eternal Moments. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start.
Amid the smoldering ruins of World War II, two German soldiers take a moment to forget the horror. Among rubble and destroyed walls, two small Russian kittens become an unexpected emotional refuge, shattering the classic image of war and revealing humanity where only violence is expected. They remind us that even in utter chaos, tenderness can survive. Two Wehrmacht soldiers sit together, laughing without a care in the world, in an image whose exact moment has been lost to time. The photograph captures a rare instant of camaraderie and relief amidst brutal warfare, reminding us that behind the uniforms were young men who could still laugh, even as the world crumbled around them. A 16-year-old German anti-aircraft gunner is captured in the final months of World War II, when the Reich was already on the brink of collapse. His face reflects weariness, fear, and a maturity forced by war, symbolizing an entire generation of teenagers sent to the front when there were no adult men left, a stark image of the desperate human cost of the conflict in 1945. A German soldier is captured eating a piece of bread during World War II, a simple gesture that contrasts sharply with the brutality of the conflict. The scene reveals the daily routine of the front, where even the most basic moments became precious, reminding us that war is not only fought with weapons, but also amidst hunger, waiting, and the daily struggle for survival. A group of Wehrmacht soldiers poses calmly for a photograph around 1942, at a time when the war still seemed distant to many of them. Hidden among the youthful faces and relaxed poses is a personal story, that of a cousin of the author's grandmother, reminding us that behind every historical image are real families, lives intertwined with conflict, and memories that outlasted the war itself. A German soldier stares intently at the camera in 1941, the lifeless body of his comrade lying beside him. His expression is hard, empty, marked by the shock of recent combat, capturing in a single instant the psychological weight of war, where death ceases to be abstract and becomes personal, immediate, and impossible to ignore. German soldiers march triumphantly past the French Victory Monument at Verdun during the fall of France in 1940. The scene is laden with historical symbolism, as Verdun had been one of France's greatest sources of pride and sacrifice in the previous war, and now becomes a scene of humiliation, showing how brutally history can turn in just a generation. German soldiers appear in the heat of action during World War II, captured amidst the movement and tension of combat. The image conveys urgency, noise, and constant danger, freezing a second where every decision could mean life or death, and reminding us that behind every war photograph there was real chaos, fear, and pure adrenaline. A mother poses with her 8 sons, all sent to serve during World War II, in an image that defies the statistics of the conflict. Against all odds, all 8 returned alive, making this rare symbol of hope, luck, and relief in a time when most families did not share the same fate. Soldiers demonstrate in 1944 how a simple metal bar could save a motorcyclist by diverting cables stretched across the road. This type of deadly trap was common in the war, and the image reveals the constant adaptation of combat, where survival depended as much on ingenuity as on weapons, and every detail could mean the difference between life and death. An inspection of the League of German Girls during World War II shows young women lined up with rigid discipline and serious expressions. The scene reflects how the Nazi regime molded youth from an early age, turning ideology into daily routine, where even childhood was absorbed by propaganda, order, and preparation for a future imposed by the state. German soldiers appear during the Warsaw Uprising in a city turned into an urban battlefield where every street was a death trap. The image conveys constant tension and brutality, reflecting one of the bloodiest episodes of the German occupation, in which the Polish resistance fought almost without resources against a relentless repression that would forever mark the history of the city. Following the liberation of France in 1944, women accused of collaborating with Nazi personnel are publicly humiliated before enraged crowds. With their heads shaved and displayed as symbols of betrayal, these scenes reflect the thirst for justice and revenge after years of occupation, showing how the end of the war brought not only relief but also public punishment, moral wounds, and a society seeking redemption amidst the chaos of the post-conflict era. The exiled former German Emperor Wilhelm II waves from a doorway to German soldiers during the occupation of the Netherlands in 1940. Removed from power since the end of World War I, he still took credit for the military successes of the Third Reich, showing how imperial nostalgia and personal pride survived even in exile, shortly before his death in 1941, as Europe once again burned in a new war. A newly freed Jewish prisoner points a gun at a Nazi German soldier in the final days of World War II, completely reversing the roles of power. The image condenses years of persecution, humiliation, and suffering into a single instant of stark justice, symbolizing the collapse of the Nazi regime and the moment when the victims regained their voice, dignity, and control over their destiny in 1945. In the Pacific, in 1944, the face of war is etched in an expression marked by extreme exhaustion and constant horror. This image encapsulates the brutality of a front where the jungle, the climate, and the enemy were equally relentless, showing how war not only destroys bodies, but also gazes, emotions, and every trace of human innocence. In August 1945, in Mandal, Norway, the last German soldiers officially surrender after the end of World War II. The image conveys exhaustion and resignation, marking the definitive end of a conflict that had devastated Europe for 6 years, where no glory or victory remained, only the weight of silence, defeat, and a war that had finally ended. In Istanbul in 1939, a Turkish officer is seen wearing a gas mask during an air defense exercise, foreshadowing a war that threatened to engulf the globe. Although Turkey remained largely neutral, the image reflects the global fear of bombing and chemical weapons, showing how even countries outside the front lines were preparing for a modern and devastating conflict that no one could ignore. This is the only known depiction of the execution of a Western prisoner of war by Japanese forces around 1943. The image is chilling because it captures a rarely documented crime, reflecting the extreme brutality of the Pacific Theater, where the conventions of war were ignored and thousands of prisoners vanished without a trace, making this record a historical testimony as rare as it is disturbing. An American combat medic attends to a wounded German SS soldier in France in 1944 in the heat of battle. The scene breaks the logic of absolute hatred, showing that even among enemies, codes of humanity existed, where saving a life could outweigh the uniform, reminding us that in war, compassion sometimes outlived the conflict itself. An Italian soldier stands before one of his compatriots seconds before being executed in 1917 for deserting the front. The image exposes the harshness of military discipline during the First World War, where the fear of punishment could be as strong as the fear of the enemy, showing a war that killed not only on the battlefield, but also on orders from within. The photographs taken by a soldier in the SS Panzer Division between 1939 and 1945 offer a direct and personal look at the war from the inside. Having remained hidden for decades, these images acquire a unique historical weight, showing everyday scenes, moments of calm, and the unsettling contrast between apparent normality and the brutality of the conflict, reminding us how history is also preserved in silent albums that resurface long afterward. American soldiers return home in 1945 after the end of World War II, their faces marked by exhaustion and restrained emotion. The image captures the transition between war and peace, that strange moment when duty ends but scars remain, symbolizing the relief of homecoming and the beginning of a life that would never be the same. An American sailor hands a drawing to a Soviet captain in 1944. A simple gesture symbolizing cooperation between the two Allied powers during World War II. The image represents the Lend-Lease program, where resources, aid, and support crossed borders despite deep ideological differences, recalling a brief moment of unity forged by the need to defeat a common enemy. In the final months of World War II, German children received weapons training in December 1944 as the Reich teetered on the brink of collapse. The image is deeply disturbing and reflects the regime's utter desperation as it turned to children to sustain a losing war, showing how the conflict ultimately consumed even those who should never have been involved. In Cologne in 1946, life slowly begins to return to some semblance of normalcy after the devastation of World War II. Amidst ruins and destroyed buildings, civilians resume their daily routines, demonstrating human resilience and the desire to rebuild, reminding us that even after the deepest disaster, life always finds a way to go on. Two German soldiers from 1916 posed together during the First World War, united not only as comrades but also as brothers. Decorated with the Iron Cross Second Class, the colorized image highlights pride and closeness amidst a brutal war, reminding us how family ties and loyalty were intertwined on the front lines, where fighting and surviving was a shared experience until the very end. On a Russian street in 1941, three German soldiers pose for the camera in a seemingly tranquil portrait, colorized to bring the past to life. The scene is deceptive, for behind their gazes and relaxed postures, a brutal invasion unfolds on the Eastern Front, reminding us how war could momentarily seem commonplace even amidst one of history's bloodiest battles. Berlin appears devastated after the end of World War II, reduced to a landscape of ruins and silence. Destroyed buildings, unrecognizable streets, and a divided city reflect the full cost of the conflict, showing how the heart of the Reich was forever scarred, while its inhabitants faced the arduous task of surviving and rebuilding from the ashes. In 1945, German women are forced to repave the streets of Prague after the end of World War II. The image reflects the reprisals and punishments imposed in the post-war period, where defeat translated into forced labor and public humiliation, showing how the conflict did not end with surrender, but continued to mark bodies, dignity, and memories long after the silence of the guns. The photograph shows a great-grandfather being drafted to fight in World War II around 1940, unaware of the fate that awaited him. He would die shortly afterward in a gulag somewhere in Siberia in 1941, making this image one of the last traces of his life, a silent reminder of how millions were swept up by the war and disappeared far from home, leaving only memory and absence. In Berlin, 1923, a war invalid walks through the streets, an image that reflects the pain and despair of a generation scarred by World War I. With Germany still struggling to recover from the scars of conflict, these men, many of them forgotten by the state, became living symbols of war, a reminder that the cost of violence is measured not only in battles won or lost, but also in lives broken. In 1915, Jewish soldiers served in the German army during World War I, a historical paradox that challenges later narratives. In an era of rising anti-Semitism, thousands of Jews fought for the empire, and this image reflects their courage, but also the contradiction of being considered patriots in an army that years later would marginalize them. During World War II, American soldiers celebrate Thanksgiving on the front lines in a colorized scene that brings to life an intimate moment amidst the chaos. Far from home and surrounded by danger, this brief ritual offered comfort and a sense of normalcy, reminding them why they were fighting and showing how even in war there was room for tradition, hope, and shared humanity. The photograph of your great-great-grandfather, a German soldier during World War I, taken around 1914-1915, captures a man before the war changed him forever. In his eyes, there is still youth and innocence, a stark contrast to the horror that was to come. Those who participated in the conflict underwent profound transformations, both physical and emotional, that marked generations. In 1944, American pilots rest with one of the war's most macabre trophies, a Japanese skull, obtained on the Pacific battlefield. The image reflects the brutality of war, where the line between symbolic victories and dehumanization became increasingly blurred, a reminder of how hatred and violence infiltrated every aspect of the conflict, even the most horrific forms of war mementos. On the Western Front around 1918, an Australian soldier comforts a wounded American amidst the chaos of World War I. The gesture, simple yet powerful, transcends flags and ranks, demonstrating the solidarity between allies in one of the darkest moments of the conflict, where human support could mean as much as any military victory. In August 1944, German SS soldiers formed the last defensive line tasked with crushing the Warsaw Uprising as the Allies advanced. The image encapsulates the regime's desperation and the ferocity of the repression in a city reduced to ruins and resistance, recalling one of the most brutal episodes of the war's end, where violence sought to stifle a people determined to reclaim their freedom. American soldiers travel through France on July 15, 1945, when the war in Europe had ended and the atmosphere was beginning to change. The image reflects a mixture of relief, curiosity, and transition, showing men who had arrived as combatants and were now moving through a liberated country at a time when the noise of war was slowly giving way to normalcy and the return home. In 1915, German soldiers take a brief rest during World War I, savoring a rare moment of calm amidst the conflict. The image captures the pause between battles, where exhaustion, waiting, and uncertainty dominated daily life, reminding us that war was also made up of tense silences and men trying to regain their strength before returning to the front. The photograph shows a family with their group during World War I in Germany, captured in a moment of camaraderie before the war defined their fates. Hidden among uniforms and serious expressions are personal stories, almost forgotten today, reminding us that behind every historical image were real men, real families, and lives forever marked by a conflict that changed the world. On May 10, 1940, Dutch troops on bicycles prepared for war, unaware of the German might they faced. Armed only with bicycles and sheer courage, they faced tanks and modern weapons, displaying bravery in the face of overwhelming enemy superiority, and reminding us how human determination can shine even in impossible circumstances. On April 22, 1945, the U.S. Army destroyed the enormous swastika at the Zeppelin Field, the iconic stadium where Hitler addressed 6 Nazi Party rallies before crowds of up to 200,000 people. The image symbolized the fall of the regime and the end of an era of propaganda and terror, showing how even the grandest monuments to Nazi power could be reduced to rubble in the face of inevitable collapse. In 1974, among the ruins of East Berlin, graffiti proclaimed "Never Again War," recalling the horrors of World War II decades after its end. The image reflected collective memory, the hope for peace, and the desire for future generations to learn from the past, transforming the rubble of destruction into a message of warning and resilience. In 1939, Russian and German soldiers chat casually in Poland, a surprisingly peaceful moment before the war revealed its full brutality. The image captures the humanity that could emerge even between enemies, a fleeting instant of dialogue and normalcy amidst a conflict that would soon become relentless and devastating. In 1937, Nazi War Minister Werner von Blomberg observed British tanks accompanied by English officers during a diplomatic visit. The image captures a moment of apparent cordiality between nations just 2 years before Europe was engulfed in World War II, revealing the underlying tension and historical irony of an encounter where peace was temporary and war imminent. In 1943, Albanian officer Ahmet Demiri served under German command during World War II, captured in a colorized photograph that brings the era to life. The image reflects the complex alliances and occupations in the Balkans, where loyalties, survival, and politics intertwined, showing how the war affected even smaller nations and their individual soldiers. A German soldier appears on horseback around 1941, showing how military tradition and classic mobility still coexisted with modern warfare. The image reflects a front where cavalry still played a role despite the arrival of tanks and motorized vehicles, a reminder that World War II combined advanced technology with older military methods. In April 1945, Soviet and American soldiers meet at the end of World War II, symbolically sealing the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. The image captures a historic moment of unity between forces that had fought on different fronts, showing relief, camaraderie, and the end of a conflict that had devastated Europe for 6 years.